A recent study showed that William Blake's The Tyger is the most published poem in the English language, but it's far from a simple poem. If you remember from the previous video, The Tyger is from the Songs of Experience and is the counterpart of The Lamb, which you also read from the Songs of Innocence. But where The Lamb basically presents a series of questions in the first stanza and a series of fairly simple answers in the second stanza, The Tyger leaves us with more questions than answers. To begin with, the first line, Tyger, Tyger, burning bright. What are the connotations of that phrase, burning bright, here? Wrath, anger, violence, damnation, or alternatively, passion and glory. And are the speaker's questions rhetorical? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Or are these questions a genuine quest for knowledge about human nature? If they're rhetorical questions, then the poem reads as a somewhat critical or perhaps awestruck view of a God that could create such a creature. How can a God create both a lamb and a tiger? It's mind-boggling to the human mind. But if they're a genuine quest for knowledge, then this poem might be read as a heartfelt attempt to grapple with the reality of violence in the world. The tone totally changes if we read it that way. And why this emphasis on the violence of the tiger? The question about the lamb seems to suggest that perhaps the tiger is the world of experience's version of Christ, not the meek Lamb of God, but the rebel fighting against injustice in the world. Clearly, the tiger is opposed to the lamb's mildness, but equally clearly, this opposition is not one that's simply evil for Blake. The energy and wrath of the tiger are good things, as we'll learn in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Blake says, the tigers of wrath are wiser than the horses of instruction. If we look at stanza 5, when the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears. Stars in Blake have a very specific symbolic connotation associated with the version of God against which Blake is writing. As I mentioned in the previous video, the idea of a God who stands outside creation and simply maps it out in a totally rational way. The starry world is the symbol of that kind of God. So that implication affects the way we read that line, but also what does threw down mean in this case? If you throw down a spear, it could be an attack, throwing a spear at someone, or a surrender, putting down your weapons. And finally, what does Blake mean by fearful symmetry here? And why the shift in the last stanza from what immortal hand or eye in the first stanza could frame thy fearful symmetry to, in the final stanza, dare frame thy fearful symmetry? What has changed in the course of this poem? Again, a lot of questions and no simple answers.